So yeah, what we did last time was what you saw in the promo clip a moment ago. So we got to this section here where we had her climb up the robot, then she makes him twist, and she kicks his head off, and then the robot goes flying. So I want to add a couple of extra in-betweens in this area to make this clearer, and then we're going to animate the robot falling down the hole and begin to have Major, the main character, do like a cat pass and begin to glide down this railing. But yeah, we'll see how far we go. So there was one area in here that was discussed last time, which was the foot coming around in here, because right now we have quite a long time where we're just holding in this position, and it'd be nice to kind of almost have that. It feels like our momentum dies here too much, so I might be able to ease this in with the arms and the spine, and then here. So let's ease this in. And then let's also slightly blend that forward. And then I'm going to have that back leg come around, and then we push off here. This foot might be a bit further back, maybe. We'll see how it goes. But I had the idea that since this leg is delaying, maybe we keep that leg coming around. Let's see what we can do. So that's our perspective, our camera view. So to have this leg almost swing around a bit more. I'm also thinking that this might be a good opportunity because there's going to be light trails that are going around the foot. I thought that'd be a cool opportunity in there to have that leg come around a bit more, so you'll see the light passing around. It might mean that I need to tweak some of this posing, but I think it will just help the rhythm of the shot a bit more. And then I wonder if I just turn off the stretch on this. That's going to help us a bit, because that's overstretching right now. Stretch leg, let's turn that off. And then we'll do the same in here. Then I can see where the volume hits the extreme. And then that foot's going to come around. I'm going to have to tweak some of the posing afterwards, but I just want to get that foot position coming around first. Something like this. And then here, this is going to have to be further back. So let's flatten off the foot. And then we can add the foot roll back in. Yeah, this is the part that's going to be tricky. I may need to rework. So that we push off with one of the other feet, maybe. I like the idea of the leg coming around, though. I want to see if I can make that work. Hey Adam, how's it going? Hey, first time in the chat as well. Neat. Good to see you here. For some reason. There we go. That comes around. Yeah, it might have to be something like this. Just have a little bit of texture go on through here. I think it's relatively forgiving as well, as I'm pushing through there. This foot's over bending there for some reason. And I just need to tweak some of the hip controls so that we're connecting her spine a little bit more in here, because obviously this is very broken right now. So I need to tweak her root and her hips a little bit more. Mostly in Z. And then that knee's also feeling a bit off. Feels like our upper spine here should be leaning more forwards. And it's in the lower that needs to be bent more. Alternatively, we bend it even more. Let's see what happens if I just bend the chest a little bit more in here and then drop the root, so that way we get more lead on the head. So we're coming over with the chest. Just tracking the arc on the head. we're getting into like the blocking plus territory here, but if I can, it might be good to clean a little bit of this stuff up as we're going through. Oh, what's happened there? Something broke here. That's strange. Let's see how that plays. Yes, it's a bit more interesting. There's a little bit more flair going in there now. Yeah, it's coming along well. So we need to do a little bit of the robot in-betweens on the turn today, which we'll probably do in a moment. And then we're going to add a few more in-betweens to her. And then we're going to continue from there. So where we left off last time, which is where she does the kick, comes around, holds, does this big kick, knocks his head off. Once it plays, there we go. So she knocks his head off, and then that kind of makes this robot malfunction. So we're gonna continue her landing, turn into a cat pass over this line here. So she's gonna come over the top of this, and then the robot's gonna fall down into this space down here. That's what we're doing today, and we'll see how we get on. I would like to get the in-between of the robot in here so he's in the right position, because right now we have the push away here, but as this is coming through, we don't quite have the turn yet. So he comes around, we're twisting more with the spine and the chest. Like this. And then we can always continue to drag the head a bit more. Then we might get a little bit more loose on these arms. So we're getting a bit more drag in there. Same for this guy, can drag behind. And then these feet, so this one's coming off the ground, so this one needs to stay where it was. As does the knee. Some weird perspective there. There we go. And then this leg needs to come around and land into its final position. We need to twist off of the toe. I don't know if we have... Do we have... We have tip roll, tip twist. Here we go. So it looks something more like this. And then the hip. So now the chest is coming around. And then we're easing in. So I'm going to continue to delay the root, so the root stays back, and it's the chest that's twisting and leading around. Still want to get a bit more lead on the chest. Continue to drag the head. As the arm comes round. Just playing around with the silhouette, seeing what we can come up with. Now this foot will definitely have landed. So what's this foot doing? This foot lands. Ah, interesting, okay. So that's coming over. So actually this foot needs to be, the twist needs to be a lot more like this. It's coming around into this position. Then this leg is coming over. I think the spine should lead after the leg goes completely backwards. So when you say the leg goes completely backwards, which part are you referring to? So she's pushing him in the shoulder, he's coming around, so his upper half is leading his twist, and then his lower half on the root is going to come behind. So at this point, he's turning away. I just need to figure out some of the leg shapes because that's what's kind of not helping it at the moment. It might have to be a bull twist, actually, now looking at this. I think that's probably better. Let's take this foot, go into here, we'll snap this, and let's do a bull twist. Which is literally just the Y. So then this one comes around like this. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Maybe we have to delay this leg. Then it comes in. This leg's coming back for longer. Yeah, that makes more sense. Then this knee is coming around. And then we ease in from here. As the leg comes around, the roll during the roll. Oh, the spine should lead after the leg goes completely backwards. Yeah, that's what we have, don't we? So earlier on, the leg comes back, but her spine is leading forwards here, right? And then she pushes up. Is that not the case? So now, do we overshoot the root a little bit? And then this leg would have to come around. this. So I'm bending the arm back here. Yes, that drags behind. We're continuing to drag. Then here, let's continue to drag the wrist and the arm. Then that's coming through. There we go, that's starting to come around now. No, I feel the spine should lead and the leg going backwards at the same time. Okay. I think when both the legs are balanced, then the spine push forward. Yeah, the issue is the timing, right? So you might be onto something. The issue is this foot needs to be here for this pose into the push off, right? So in order for that foot to get under the root needs to begin to ease out. So the spine is already easing out as here, that transition where the leg comes into contact as the root's pushing forward, as the spine is leading up. So it's like kind of blending two things together. So let's see. I do want to keep this quite tight, so some of this may slightly change, but we'll see how we get on. I might be able to deliberately drag the head even more in here. So that's the last thing to settle as this is coming around. So then by this point it's still coming around, then the robot looks and gets kicked in the head. I think that'll work for now. Just want to get the broad strokes going because we're already in quite heavy in-between territory with some of this stuff, and I don't want to go too deep too early. Just want to kind of flush out a lot of the blocking. And then on major, so she comes down, does the kick, but we need to have her do a turn. I might need to actually, because the robot's now in the way, it hasn't fallen yet in here. It might be worth this stage. I don't need these keys. Oh, I do need that key. But it should be attached, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. So now I can animate the robot. Look. And I'm just going to have him fall back. And and then continues to fall. Do I go with the head? Sorry, do I lead a bit more with the spine, maybe? So in here, we're almost rolling back, and we can slightly arch the spine. Ooh. And then we can drag the arms back. And then I'll have to ease out the arms here. I have to ease these in a bit more. And then as we're falling down, I'm just doing this straight ahead at this point. But I can get a feel for the spacing as we go through. Sometimes it's better to just do it straight ahead to get the weight that you're looking for. Then we can come off the foot there a little bit more. My computer just froze. There we go. And drag the arms behind. I might change some of this stuff later. We'll see how we get on. But it's just to get... mostly the objective right now is just to get him out of the way. He's a bit in the way of where a Major needs to be. So I'm just doing a part of the body of the robot just to get him to beginning to fall down. Now, do I have him like almost bonk against this? So I could arch his spine back more. So he almost like knocks off of this. Here. So he almost pivots off of it a bit more. And then I can get some nice reversals in the spine. I want to keep that root coming over more. Like this, so he almost rolls off of it. Do I keep that leg out? Could do something more graphic like this. And then he continues to roll off. Everyone been having a good weekend so far? I know there's not much of the evening left, but anyone had any cool things they've been up to this weekend? Just continue to drag the feet back and the legs back. Reverse the arms. And then he continues to fall down. Just try and look at my silhouette. Let's get that foot out of the way. And then now I continue to fall down. And then let's bring that knee over. And then we can begin to straighten out the arms more. And then it's got a bit more weight and inertia now, so it'll probably begin to stop turning as much. Let's move the legs with it. Would make more sense, wouldn't it? And then those legs are going to begin to drag. I don't even know how far on camera we are now. Yeah, so he's basically already off camera. So I'll do this one pose, and then we should be able to just cheat him out of frame, out of the scene completely at this stage. And then 2 frames later, let's move his whole body and everything inside of the geometry. We'll just hide him inside the building because we don't need him anymore. Once my... There we go. There you go. Now he's disappeared. Cool. So now we've got a fallen robot. Let's see how that looks on camera. Let's remove the motion trail. Yeah, so like we get the bump, but then after that he's pretty much gone. But I think it works. You kind of see, you just about read the arms going off camera, and then he disappears. Maybe he needs a little bit more time in there. I'll play around with the timing of how he falls in a minute, but we'll see. What is that body part picker that you're using? Is this through Animbot? So no, this is Dreamwall Picker. It's a separate tool. It's completely free. It's essentially like AnimSchool Picker, but has a few more details in it, and it actually has a really cool like customization window, which I have here. And like the way you create buttons, it's a lot more customizable. You can add, like, it's very intuitive. You can change like fonts and like how your text works. You can change transparency. There's lots of cool functions on this. There's really cool ways to rearrange your buttons and stuff. Yeah, that's the tool. It's called Dreamwall. I can send a link in the chat if you're interested. Just give me 2 seconds. Yes, this is all in Maya that we're animating today, yes. But when I go into lighting and rendering and texturing and everything, I'm going to use Blender. I think it's just a little bit more accurate. Like, I think I'll be able to achieve a more accurate representation of what I'm trying to achieve, which is like a 90s looking anime. And I feel like the toolset that Blender has I'll be able to utilize a little bit more to get to that result. I feel like I'll have to work a lot smarter to use Maya to get some of those results. Yeah, we'll see. So now that the robot's fallen down, we can begin to animate Major landing and doing her little cat pass, which I do have reference for the cat pass. But I think I do. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I did. There you go. So I got the reference here of us coming through, leaping, tucking under, and then grinding down. I feel like this might be slightly out of time though now, looking at it. Maybe slightly out of time. Because here... I'm going to make this slightly earlier. So let's just take the ref. And if I go into the frame offset here... Yeah, this needs to be faster. So what I'll do is I'll take this section... and then add another key here. Then let's delay. We need to bring this earlier. So let's bring the frame offset here. So we're pushing it 6 frames earlier. Just for this section. Yeah, something like this. It's a tricky balance because at this point she already needs to be on that wall. So I might make this slightly... Let's make it 4 frames rather than 6. There we go. Okay, So we've just slightly retimed when that section of the reference happens. And then she's going to come down and land. So at this stage here is where I need a key for her on the like antic pose. So we need to... She's going to land, do a 360 twist. Like this. Turn and lean forward. And then we can reset her spine. Something like this. We can reset the arms. And then we need to pose her legs. So that leg came around like this. And then it's going to come under that. And then this leg, pointing down, it's going to twist 360 like this, and then land. This is such an important part that I feel like a lot of people don't take into consideration when they're doing their blocking, is like, if you have these complex rotations, how much each individual control needs to follow that same rotation. Because that's where you get into problems later if you don't set up correctly. Now she is leaning quite far forward here. Now the arms are passing through. Yeah, okay. So they're in the breakdown here, but because I want to keep it tight, I'm actually going to continue to keep the arms dragging here for a bit longer. Keep it graphic. Give us something to work with. We can always tweak some of this later if we want to. I'm also not liking some of the clarity on the knees there. That's all right. There you go. That's better. So we've got an antic pose, and then we'll work into that from there. Hey, I struggle a lot with weight in my animation. Can you give me any tips? Yeah, sure. So there are two ways to really think about weight. You've got the idea of the weight being how heavy the object is, but they've also got mass, right? So it's how much stuff your object is made of. Now, a lot of your weight is going to be determined by your timing and spacing. Now, if something is of a larger mass, because you can have something that, just to clarify, because you can have something that's very small, but is also very heavy, right? Or you could have something that's really big, but is actually very light. So you need to determine those two factors. Now, more often than not, something large is going to be slightly heavier, right? But say for instance you have a brick and it's very heavy, but it's a small mass. Because it has a small mass, it means that it's going to have less resistance to change. So when you have a large mass, this is why they do the comparison in physics, right, of a car versus a truck. They're going at the same speed. When they both put the same amount of pressure on the brake, which one slows down first and comes to a stop, and which one carries on? Because of a truck having a larger mass, it therefore has more resistance to change. Therefore, it takes a longer period of time for it to slow down and stop. And it will travel further. So with that in mind, if you're trying to add weight consider the mass of your object and ask yourself, well, because it's a larger mass, it needs more time to ease in and out of things. So when, you know, because you can still have something that has impact, right? You can still have like some, like a really big giant go whoa, right? And it can hit down really quickly once it gets the momentum, but to get to that momentum takes more time. So you're like whoa, and then it comes through. So you can study with that frame of mind. You can study a lot of like creatures, and visual effects are a good point of call for that. Some good ones that come to mind for weight are things like Pacific Rim. I actually really like Peter Jackson's King Kong from the 2000s, where he's fighting the dinosaurs, the T-Rexes. That's got some really good weight in it. Yeah, there's plenty of good stuff out there. But if you go into it with that frame of mind, considering the mass and how much, and then the weight, then that will, and then just break it down from a timing perspective, that'll get you most of the way there. How many years have I been animating? If you're talking about as a whole, then I started studying properly animation. I dabbled in animation trying to teach myself when I was a teenager, around 15. But I didn't really know what I was doing, so I don't really count that. But I studied when I was 18. And I decided at the time, when I was 18, I wanted to be a modeler, because that's all I really knew how to do properly. And then once I got into my second year of university, I decided that I wanted to be an animator. So I've been animating since I was 19, properly, I would say, but professionally 8 years. So I graduated in 2015. And then that's when I got my first job. We already had the spine coming back on itself here. So I can arch the spine. Lead with the head in the turn. And then this foot was going to land first. This one comes down, lands at this position here. Try and find some interesting posing. Now, do I go in the Z here on the hip? And then the same in the spine. Because then this leg's going to swing. I think this needs to come around more. I want her to feel in control, so I don't want to drag her spine too much. But I do want to get those kicks in there. So the leg come round, then here, this leg's gonna follow through. So this is feeling very broken right now, but we'll work out the posing. Do I arch the spine forwards here is the question. Maybe I do. I think that's just going to look cleaner. So let's reset our X's. Let's just reset the spine. I think we need to rework this from scratch. And then the weight is going to be on that leg, so that's fine. But this foot's going to have to come around. Like this. And then the neck can lead around. And then the arm was dragging back here. So it'll be something like this. Maybe I can drag this arm. So we're breaking up our joints a bit more, getting a bit more rhythm and flow. I'm just trying to think what I want to do with this leg, if I want to have it already coming through. Tricky. I preferred the pose I had before, but I'm worried about the lead as this comes through. But she's got to do a big twist in a very short period of time. Alternatively, do I have her even turn? Yeah, I don't think I actually need to. I'm changing my mind. So in here, there should be in our Y, there should be a lot of 360s going on here. So I don't even need to do that now. So let's take the rotations on these three controls, snap them back, and then repose them. Because that wasn't quite working. So we're just essentially all I'm doing is going back in and not having that crazy rotation where we spin on ourselves. I'm gonna have her leg follow through the kick, and then she's just gonna land down. So in here, if I just go back on those rotations and just let them, there we go. So coming down in here. Now, I do want to have the lead on the leg. So that foot's going to land first. This foot here. This foot lands on the ground. Now, do I reverse the spine? This is why, like, I think the streaming process, like doing this stuff with you guys, is kind of interesting and fun because it's a bit spontaneous and there's a lot of like problem solving and working things out, figuring out what actually works for the shot. I actually do feel like I'm gonna keep the arch in the spine and then get a bit more weight in here. And then this leg is going to drag behind. Sorry, I'll check out the chat. I'm sure people have been commenting stuff. Happy New Year, everyone. I think it hugely gets your posing better when you know how to draw. Yeah, it does help. I don't think you need to be able to draw to get good posing, but it definitely like trains your sensibilities. I think one thing that you can really utilize when you're drawing is like you oversimplify things sometimes because you're finding the gesture of something, and if you're able to capture that gesture without even like, if you know how to draw but you don't necessarily have to draw to get the pose you're looking for, but you're training your eye in a specific way from drawing, that when you go to create a pose, you're oversimplifying things in a way that kind of makes it read clearer. And yeah, I think there are benefits to drawing for sure. Like if you look at most 2D animation, it has such an appeal to it, right? Because there's every line is intentional, and when we're doing 3D posing, right, we're not necessarily thinking about, well, you know, we've got geometry, right? So we're not looking at each one of those lines and what they mean, because we're almost like letting the computer tell us what that's supposed to look like because it's geometry. But you need to kind of change your mindset as to, well, look at the line that this leg is creating. How is that flowing into this one? What kind of shape is the leg even creating in the leg itself? And can I make that more appealing? So doing that sort of thing by drawing, I think definitely helps train your eye. There we go. So now we're getting a little bit more lead and follow in here. I don't want to lean her too far back though. Whoa, what happened to the foot there? That was weird. I did not press that. There we go. That was very strange. I'm keeping that arm on the right side of the legs so they don't cross over. You can see how in here this arm is on the right side of this leg. So if I have them cross over, I'm adding complexity. So I'm deliberately keeping that arm on the other side to make that clearer. And if I want to connect the chest, I can do that too. So if I just twist the chest, and then I can connect the shoulders accordingly. We need to distinguish what's the difference between spacing and timing. And whilst they do go hand in hand, they work, you know, together. Timing is more the rhythm and how long something takes to do its action. Rather than, like, you can have your overall rhythm of a shot, which is your general timing, you could say. Which is like your rhythm, like your which, you know, that's quite repetitive. But like I did the 4/4 over the top, but you can see like I'm doing different rhythms over the top of that to make it less repetitive. But then you've got timing in terms of how long am I easing in and out for, and that's where your weight comes in, right? That's how you show mass when something's large. Now, if something is heavy, then yes, it's going to accelerate faster and the spacing will be greater. If it's something that's very light, your spacing is more even. Not to say that it'll be completely linear even, but when something has more weight, there's more contrast in your spacing. So if there's some, you know, I'm trying to think how to explain this. The spacing between as you'll begin to ease out and when you hit your breakdown is going to be much greater. Whereas if something's very light, then the spacing is going to be more constant. I'm going to create a in between, and I want to push off of that leg so that leg stays back. Now, do I have that leg already come forward from the kick? Could do it that way. Or do I have her slightly hop into it so we get a bit more height? Dun, 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 dun. I think it needs to kind of stay low because of the inertia of where she came from. There was quite a big drop before that. I'm just thinking how much I want to follow through the leg. But because it needs to get here pretty soon, it could still follow through. You can separate the timing a bit more. So I could have this land here, for instance. Or do I just have it go straight onto its final position around here? Where we get into the antic? That's the question. I think we need to spend a bit more time at the back anyway, because the robot hasn't fallen off yet. This is the tricky part with the timing. So we can actually maybe spend a bit more time fixing the inertia, leading through with the spine, allowing this leg to kind of come through. Trying to create some clean posing where I can. Again, I'm slightly improvising, so we'll see how it plays out. I do know that the arms need to come back at some point, so these will probably follow through here. And then I can bring that hand back. Definitely need to arch the hips more here. So we're dragging this arm back. I'll fix the leg silhouettes in a second. Let's do it now before I forget. Then that arm's going to come through, so this one's leading. So then on this hand, let's create one of our hand poses. Oh, it didn't work. Interesting. Is it the other hand? There we go. Then I should be able to mirror. It didn't work for some weird reason. I'm pretty sure I created a mirror table, right? Yeah, I've got a mirror table. I don't understand why this happens sometimes. Well, let's try it again. So go into the mirror. If not, I can just copy a hand pose I had earlier. So it's a right arm. So let's see what we've got to work with. Anything interesting in here? I want a slightly more splayed appeal. So you see all the keys I've already blocked out from previous parts of the shot. So there we go, we got a splay here. This will do. So let's copy that. Put that here. There we go. It was at this pose here. And then this one we can keep as it is. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So she comes down. Then we need to hop onto this. Thanks, Roman. I appreciate it. Cool, so we're coming down, and then we need to hop onto this. So you got dun dun. So you hear the sound, it goes boom, 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 boom. So I could use that as a 1-2 push off, push land kind of thing. So we got duh, 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 duh. So in here, we need to push off into the air. So keep these feet back. So that arm's coming around now. We're creating an arc in there. Which axis is her arm in? It is Y. It looks like it's Z here. The arm's getting quite broken in this shot, so I'll probably have to go through and clean some of this stuff up later. And then this arm is already going to ease in, so it's coming back. And then I'm going to keep her body a bit more compressed, so that her head arc stays the same. And then I want to keep the legs a bit more parallel to each other. There you go, like that, just looks more graphic. I think I'm gonna have to change the timing of the robot slightly, because I want to make sure I get the rhythm right of her, first and foremost, and then everything that he does is kind of a consequence of that. Then here, we're going to ease in, get a little bit of a up in there. Or do I go into the down straight away so that we get a bit more of the antic? Yeah, I think I'm gonna... No, I'm gonna stay up. Then this foot's gonna land in. This leg's gonna come back. I think that can take a little bit more time actually now looking at it. So I'm gonna make this a little bit longer. There you go. Now, this is where the lack of planning starts to show. In certain sections I've improvised. So a lot of it is planned, but a lot of it is also improvised. And now you can see that we've got 3 elements that are crossing over each other, all in the same proximity. Right? We got the head, we got the robot, and her. But she is the priority. So, do I have the robot go earlier? We can turn off the reference for the moment. I think I can delay the robot. Let's see how that works. So I'm going to select all of the robot's controls. He gets hit. Then in here, let's delay this. I can cheat some of the staging of this as well in a moment. So now, as he's coming through, let's make him go a little higher. And over. And then we can cheat it to camera a little bit in here. Just so it sweeps around the camera a little bit there. And then he's passing around and wrapping to the back. Then we don't need these keys. And then I'm probably gonna have to spline from here. Just so that we don't get any camera strobing. There you go. There is one frame there that gets quite stroby. Just cheating the camera angle a bit more. There you go. Just for that one frame. And then I can add some in-betweens in here. So let's spline this section, insert keys, and then make that back into stepped. There you go. So we fixed one of the pieces, one of the elements. You've just asked one of the questions that has made me the most anxious. Is the environment UV unwrapped? No. And I've been looking into the most efficient ways to resolve that. Which I think I have a plan. We'll see how it goes. Some of it's going to be like camera projected, and other parts of it maybe not so much. Maybe I'll just have to do a physical unwrap. It depends. Some of the environment is simpler than others, but also you can see that some parts are duplications. Some are going to be more bespoke, but again, I'm not in any rush to like complete this. I'm just, it's a passion project I'm doing on the side, so I'm not too worried about how long it will take. But yeah, it's a very good question, and I was really hoping it was. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to go into Maya because then that will stress me out more. Let me just look on the website where I bought the environment and see if they ticked whether it was unwrapped or not, and there was an X. So I was like, oh no. I just want to go in and paint. Hey, so it's a Sunday night. I'll have to make sure I don't clash when I get back to it. How's it going? Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we've made a pretty decent amount of progress today. We got up to this point where we've added a little bit of a leg swing around here. Then we've added more in-betweens of the robot in here as he does his little spin and twist. And then also as he falls down, we animated that. And then we've also done a bit of the landing of her getting onto this antic pose. And then slightly restaged the robot exit there. But I still need to go in and fix the helmet timing as well, which I think is this guy. So I think I'm gonna have to make this slightly delayed. So this is every 2 frames right now. So let's do the hang time on 3s. And then that might just about, yeah. Alternatively, it doesn't fall down. I could have it pop and go back the other way. So it hits, pings off, and then continues to go outwards this way. It's a little bit distracting because then we've got so much complications going on at once. The alternative is that it pings off and actually goes off the other way. But then, I think that's not... I don't know. I'm unsure. I think... Let me undo this. I think maybe what I'll do is just not have it go as close to her, so it falls down the middle a bit more of the hole. So this section here, let's just see if I can scale in the... Is that the X that I'm looking for? No, that's depth. Is this the one I'm looking for? Yeah, I think so. So there. Let's just scale this back. There we go. So now the silhouettes are clear. That's all I need to do. Will I create textures on Substance Painter? Possibly. It's something I need to look into. I know the art style that I want to go for. It's going to look something a bit like this kind of thing. So this is like how I want to paint the look of the backgrounds, kind of like an oil painting kind of stuff. And I have got some experience in this kind of style. I've got a lot of great brushes as well, so I'm sure that will help. Brushes in Photoshop, that is. So I don't know how well I'll be able to adapt this sort of style into the final product, but we'll see. But then the color scripts are going to look a bit more like this. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I want to kind of get the texture quality, the oily painting kind of side of this. Maybe not as vibrant as the stuff from Akira, but like the green and purpley hues I want to kind of put into the backgrounds, and then all like the vibrant pop colors will come from the characters themselves. I have one question. In the graph, when you move a value, the original value remains, like in an onion skin mode. Do you have an activate option for that? When you move a value, the original value remains. Yeah, so it's called buffer curve. So if I just bring that up, so say I have this curve, right? If you select whatever curves you want to save, then there's a little icon that looks like it's here. It says buffer curve, and if you press that, it looks like a squiggle with an arrow on the top and then a curve on the bottom. You press that, then it creates a darker grayed out value to show you where you were on those curves beforehand. It's very useful. I wish I knew that earlier. I only discovered buffer curves in the last, I don't know, 3 years, something like that. And I was kicking myself when I found out. I was like, really? That's so useful. Yeah, that one's a bit annoying. Yeah, no worries. I'm glad you know now. Cool. So now we can do the next part, which is the hurdle over. So we want to get the contact point, which is around here, which is our tuck pose. So we'll grab her feet. Now she's on her hands, and we're tucking the legs in. Now, at this stage, I might switch the legs to FK because they don't actually touch the ground for a while here. So I'm going to switch this out. Let's put the legs in FK now. And then we can reset. Oops. There we go. Then we'll reset the rotations. Then we're going to tuck the legs in. Wow, the body's really leaning over there. So do I actually keep this really straight? Could be quite interesting. And then we'll have the arms reset. Normally I would do the contacts and IK, but it's such a short period of time that this happens that I don't even know if it's necessarily worth it. And then see if we can get a grab pose from the library. I don't know if I made one. Oh, I did. That'll do. And then maybe we'll just blend that a little bit with the fist one. And then slightly unfold the fingers. And then if I mirror this, let's see if it works. Yay! Let's just hide the thumb. Probably not necessary. Or you can just translate it up and cheat it. I need to listen to the sound here because I need to hear the bum 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 bum. I want to hear where that bum sound comes in. I think here is where I want to hear. That's where I want. I'm definitely gonna push this back. But for now, I'm gonna make this breakdown pose in here. So we want to arc up. And then we'll just exaggerate the lines of action. So let's reset the spine. And then bring the C back in. And then again, reset the arms. And then let's see if the mirror works on the arm. It did. Can I use our magical mirror on the hands as well? So we got the splay. Let's see if the splay works. Ah, I think it did. Ah, it didn't. Not perfectly. Yeah, I think it's... So I need to see what axis that's in. In the Y. So if I just reset the Ys in these. Go into the Y. If I just flip these, does that fix it? Apparently not. Weird. Let's try again. Maybe it was the wrong joint. No, it is the Y. Is it these need to be flipped? Spread. There you go. I think that's all it was. Just cheating its camera a little bit. I don't quite like how much finger posing there is, though. It might be okay. We might be able to... Can we use any scaling? We just have translates. The translates will do. Just to exaggerate the stretch a little bit. Do we have upper face? We should do. Yeah. If I do them, nah, that doesn't work. Can I scale the head? I can scale the head. Nice. Let's bring the scales back a little bit. No doubts. Yeah, that's a good question. And if it gives you any kind of validation, I would say that I have maybe started about 5 personal projects that I never completed. I always get about halfway in and I lose motivation. But don't worry, I'm sticking with this one. I've promised myself I'm sticking with this one. But I mean, there was one that I was also sticking to, but then the files got corrupted and I didn't have any backups. Luckily, I've got backups for this project, but I learnt my lesson. That was really annoying. And I made quite a lot of effort and work into that one, and I lost all the work. I've got the play blasts, but I don't have the anim files, so it's gone. But I find... I mean, this is one of the reasons I stream, is because it's now no longer just for me. It's kind of like I feel accountable for my actions because I'm streaming it to you guys, and you guys may, whether you do or not, is besides the point. But just like a mental process for me, I feel like I'm now accountable because maybe you guys want to see this consistently. So I'm like, oh, okay, I have to keep the stream up now because people are expecting to see streams. But it's not because I don't want to do it, I do. But sometimes, like yourself, you have those doubts, or you're just like, oh, do I really have the effort? This is such a long shot, or it's a complex shot, whatever it might be. But that's why, like, doing something like this forces me to do it more. And to be honest, when I'm in it, I enjoy the process. Like you say, it goes smoothly. I enjoy that process. But it is tricky motivating yourself, for sure. But also, right now at work, we're not actually doing animation right now. We're in layout stage, and I'm helping out in layout. So I'm not really getting to flex my animation muscles as much that I want to, I want to keep animating. So this is kind of where I'm venting and I'm getting all that energy out as well. So that's also a bonus. I would like to get an in-between in here. So around here, I'm going to have an ease out. I'm going to keep the legs on the wall. Going to ease out slightly. And then we'll roll off the floor just a little bit. I don't like the negative space between the knees. That feels more graphic. And then here, I definitely want to swing these arms through. This is why I want to add this in between, because then I can get the lead on the arms. And then it might be nice to get the contact in here as well. This is where I may end up stretching the arms later, but I'll just get the broad strokes done for now. Cancel the head a little bit. Now, do I tuck the legs in early like this? Or do I delay them and then have them pass through? Let's delay them. So we'll keep the legs straight for longer. And then we're going to come through the other side. So we have this pose here. Now this might change a little bit because I do want to have this pose where we're grinding down the, like this neon sign. So I'm going to check out my thumbnails. I don't think I added anything particularly dynamic in there, but it would be nice to get something interesting. I don't know how I want to treat it though, just yet. I almost want to keep the... I'm trying to think. I want to keep a lot of foreshortening, but I do want to almost feel like all of the weight is pulling down on the arm. So I want the legs to kind of be free falling. So it's around here. So I'm going to put a key here, and then I'm going to pose this out first, and then I can create the breakdown after. So she is going to come over and grind down. Now, a lot of this I don't actually have, like I may need to tweak some of the camera a bit later to make this more dynamic, but because a lot of the posing is going to be integral to what the camera's doing, I may need to tweak the camera here too. I know that if I check the temple, yeah, so we're coming over that stuff. So it is around here. This is what I was thinking. So she might be a bit lower. But I do feel like I might need to tweak the camera here. So what I'll do is I'll make a rough pose, and then we'll use that to tweak the camera, and then we'll go in and tidy up the pose. Will the camera be an auto or stepped? It'll be an auto. So I'm going to do some screen space matching for the camera, for the character. So the character will be on 2s in stepped, and then it will have camera space tracking. but the camera itself is going to remain in spline. Because I feel like otherwise it might be too disorienting. If it's on 2s and there's so much camera movements going on, you need that information. I think it'll be too jarring. So all the arms and legs and the spine, the head and the neck, all need to be reset. So I know that her arm is going to be grinding down the neon sign. So we want to get as much weight in there as we can. Now, do I keep the legs completely dangling, free falling? Or is one like locked in and the other one's coming down? That's the question. I don't want her to feel like she needs to feel calculated. So I might try first with one leg up, but the problem is I've done that so much that I want to kind of make it feel more interesting and have more variety. So I'm thinking, is there a way to make this a little bit more interesting? I think by the time we reach this point, I have an idea. We'll keep the legs free falling at the beginning, but then at one point the leg does catch. So we can have one foot. In other words, we'll bend the spine a little bit in here. Just a little bit on the upper half because there's a lot of weight. And then this head's going to be looking down. This leg's going to be up against the wall. Don't know why that shoulder, there we go, was so high up. Get a little bit of twist in the spine. So something like this for now. And then the hand's going to be gripping into the wall. Let's see if you can create a new hand pose. So I've got my groupings, so let's see what we've got. Oh, seriously? I have a right and a left hand, guys. This is why you should check your libraries. This whole time I'm like, why is it not flipping over? So now I don't even need to. Right. At least we don't have to worry about mirrors anymore. Something like this for now. Obviously the head direction, everything will change slightly. Right, so what have we got? So we're diving over. So it is around here. I'm going to create a new layer. We'll key here. And then there's another section around here I want to keep. So we've got our benchmarks that we want to preserve in our keys, in theory, which for some reason they don't seem to be existing right now. There they are. And then we want to change the part between. So it's around here. So we're in the layer. So let's go in. Let's get tighter. Let's turn off the reference. Gonna slightly tilt. What lens am I on right now? I'm already on a 20. I might be able to push it to an 18. Maybe something like this, because then you can still see the rip going down the sides. It's tricky getting the angle right, because you want to see enough length of her that we're underneath her, so that we get the foreshortening, but we also want to see an angle enough that you can see the rip and the sparks and everything. I think something like this might work. For some reason it did not save it. Oh, it did. It's just in steps. There we go. Let's spline in and out of those. So here we need to ease in to get tighter. So we're coming around. So she's hurdling. Here she'll already be diving. Come down. Yeah, let's ease this out. We need to already ease this out here a bit more. I'm going to go with this for now, and then I can merge it down, bake it, and then I can clean it up. Cool. So we have some decent keys to work with in here. Here. So let's track what the motion trail is doing on the camera here. Yeah, I had a feeling this was what's happening. Let's do before and after. So in here, we can check our graph editor. Is this our forward and back? No, that's our left and right. Forward and back should be X. Here we go. So this needs to ease in to this. Ignore the lines. And then in the X, this also needs to be tighter. A little tighter. That's already feeling better. It's becoming over. Then as we're pulling back in Z, that looks a little bit wobbly. Yeah. So let's remove the motion trail so we can actually see what we're doing. Yeah, there's a bit of cleaning up that needs to be done in here. So let's try using that. I don't want... Oh, I see why we're... I don't think we need to go as far left here. I'm having to go a little bit further ahead just to track. Yeah, so we need to be at that position there. Okay. I'm just tracking my camera through space. There, I don't like this slide to the left. This needs to slow down. That's better. Sorry, you can't see it on screen. I'm manipulating the graph editor here. I can move it over. It's just because I had the perspective in case I needed it. And then the X does flatten out here, which I don't want it to. So that's coming down. So let's try easing this out. I think this stuff's going to slightly get reworked anyway, but I want to make sure it's a smooth transition for now, so then when I rework it later, it'll be clean. I think the Y needs to be tighter. So this comes over. We're already easing out in the Y here. Let's tighten this. Still in the Z. This needs to be tighter. There we go. Right, save that. Sorry, I'm just seeing what any of the things that we got here. How do I approach blocking when you know there is going to be FK-IK switching? I switch it as I need to. So if there's a point where I'm like, okay, I know at this stage the arm's going to be an IK, I would switch it. And then as I go into adding in-betweens later, I would continue to break it down in in-betweens, but I'd decide whether in the in-between it's an FK or an IK and when that switch happens. Whether it switches early or if it switches later. Hey Aaron, I have a question. My last mentor advised me to first copy the video reference more or less exactly in order to exaggerate the animation in terms of timing and posing. First copy the reference more or less exactly in order to exaggerate the animation in terms of timing and posing in the subsequent step. While it helps me as far as body mechanics are concerned, I personally find that this approach makes it quite difficult to break away from the original footage, adding too many keys. So I have an opinion on this. It's really cool watching you animate here. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the question. It's a really good one. So I would say that intention is important first and foremost. So if your intention is to exaggerate it, then I would try using the reference as a guide, but then already make a plan ahead of time before blocking as to how you're going to exaggerate. So the way I approach that with my students is that we go through a thumbnailing process. So they look at the reference, they see the poses in the reference, they decide, okay, where are my key poses, where are my breakdowns, where are my in-betweens? And generally we would pose out the 5 main keys, which I refer to as your key poses, i.e. pose 1 and 2 in this case. So that's already 2 of those 5. Then you've got your antics, your breakdowns, and your overshoots. Now, once they've broken those down, I would have them draw a pose for each of those 5 steps. So that would be, assuming that you have all 5 in a given action, you'd have key pose 1, antic, breakdown, overshoot, key pose 2, then so on and so forth, antic, breakdown, overshoot, key pose 3, etc, etc. And in those poses, the reason we do the thumbnailing process is it gives them the choice to adapt the posing based on their intention, not just copying the reference. They use the reference as a guide to say, okay, well, here's my balance on the reference, so maybe I need to keep the balance or maybe I exaggerate like the line of action, maybe I exaggerate the clarity, the flow, whatever it might be. My lead and follow especially is a big one, especially in the breakdowns. And then they block based on that, but they're still using the reference to inform them. Rather than going ahead blocking it as though you're just copying the ref and then having to try and push it afterwards, because the problem is you may encounter your timing and spacing isn't quite the same, because as soon as you adapt a pose, but your timing is based on the reference, now that pose doesn't necessarily work, or if you adapt your spacing, now your timing is not going to work. So I think you have to make a plan early on in the process, but you're using the reference to inform you through it as you're going along. And then, you know, your mentor can look at the reference and be like, okay, so I like how you've exaggerated these things, but also keep in mind this thing that's in your reference, we need to incorporate that into your shot. So it's a good technique. I think it's a good way of understanding body mechanics. But in terms of appeal for animation, I definitely feel like you need to go in with the intention first, rather than adapting something that already exists. You need to be able to look at the ref and say, okay, I like what the reference does here, but I'm going to make the arm go this way instead, or I'm going to put the leg in this pose because then that's exaggerating my lead and follow, etc., etc. So you're just adapting it essentially. Which is basically what we're doing here right now. I'm looking at the reference, it's informing my mechanics and when they happen, but then I'm adapting the posing after. Cool. So now we have a pose where we have a camera. I can work from this now. So I'm going to take, I think everything's still in FK, so I can just shift her whole body in world space, ideally. There you go. And then maybe we can cheat some of the foreshortening now. Let's get a nice leg coming right at the camera. Now, I don't have the ability to scale the foot joint. In FK for some reason. But we do in IK, I think. So let me just copy this. Yeah, I don't know why I don't have scales. Oh, maybe, I think I remember now. There you go. It's on this control. I remember. Can we scale the bend bones? No. Can we scale the FK? No. Give me something to work with. There we go. We can scale these parts. So I have an idea of the pose I wanted to go for. But I am also improvising a little bit. I think I'm gonna have to add some foot roll in there. And we're already getting some decent foreshortening because of the we're already getting some decent foreshortening because of the focal length. I'm not quite feeling the weight in the arm though. I reckon that leg is gonna have to come around more so that we can get her closer to the wall. There you go. That's cool. I like this. Do need to play around with some of the scaling on this though. So it's these axes. Stuff like that. Cool. We'll go with this for now. So this gives us something to work with. Yeah, it's more dynamic, right? But I needed the camera to make that work. Do you see what I'm saying? I had to adapt quite a bit. Yeah, it works surprisingly well. Yeah, it's actually, it takes a bit of fiddling, doesn't it? But you get to some results eventually. I still might tweak stuff as we go though. We shall see. Right. So now, in here we have our jump. So in here, we're going to do a little bit of a, we need to adapt our posing slightly. The legs are definitely going to come through, but the arm's going to come around. So in here, keeping the arm, let's keep the legs up and through. I want to feel that weight come round, so I almost want to keep the legs a little bit more tucked in than the ref did. And I also need to turn down the scales, all this stuff. There we go. So that we're not cheating the scales just yet. Now, do I have one leg already ease out, maybe? Could be cool. I would want to lead with the left leg because that's the one that's going to catch in later. Because that's the one that comes up here. So by leading that one earlier, it has more time to come back around and catch. Whereas if I do that to one after and we lead with the right leg down, then the left leg will have too much action to do in a short space of time. That's my thinking. So this arm's going to come back. And get that imaginary line going through the legs. Then this arm needs to reach out. It's kind of cool. Then we're coming up. I think I need to be higher. Yeah, definitely needs to be higher. So there you go, keeping the legs tucked in. And then I want to lead out with that arm early. We're pretty much hitting the pose quite tight here, I'd say. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, I hate it when it does this. Bloody animbot color code. I need to fix this. Every stream we do one, I say, yeah, I'm going to fix that, and then I never do. And now it seems to have completely broken. That's good. So I've got to go in. There we go, favoring the pose. So here, we're holding up the top, and then we're sliding down. Now, do I have the leg also kind of stay in this position, so we're letting that follow through like this? So in other words, do we have... Let me just go through, make sure that the colors are green on these bloody keys. Otherwise it's going to break something. Right. So in here, in other words, do I keep that leg, do I keep this straight like this so that we get the switch up on the legs later, like that? Whoa, do you see that? Why is it, see how the legs like flick color in the timeline, and then that breaks when I use Twin Machine? I think that's kind of cool. You get that separation. Now the hand is at that position. Actually, that's dragging down pretty well. I'm just experimenting with the arm. So you got something like this as it comes over and grinds down. Just checking the arc. Yeah, that needs to be higher still. And then I can already begin to ease this in quite tight. So then with this leg, we can change the time on the legs now. So then maybe both legs stay up, then it comes through. Do you see that follow through then? We're changing up the timing a little bit. So I can almost keep the legs tightened together. Ooh. And then I can drag this behind on the arm. Then that arm, this arm here, I know it has a lot of change right now from here to here, but that's going to change as I blend into the next transition. I just haven't blocked it out yet. But yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, the stream's going well so far. Thanks, Displant. Hope you're doing good. Did you get a chance to look at the 11-second club winner for December? Let's have a look which one that was. That might have been the one I critiqued by coincidence. Give me 1 second, I can find out. Yeah, I critiqued that one. Which, if anyone is interested, you can check it out here. But yeah, no, it was really good. I liked it. If you want to hear my proper thoughts, you could check out the video because I go into depth about notes and stuff. But overall, I thought it was working really well, and I was impressed with what they could do in such a short period of time. No, I don't have a donation link, no. I'll have to look into that. I'm not really doing this for funding, although I have put money into this. Like, you know, I've bought sound effects, I've bought sets, you know, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, if people are interested in giving donations or anything, that's really cool. You know, that's really appreciated, and yeah. We shall see. Yeah, more animation content. Cool. So yeah, we're coming through. I'm actually quite happy with where this is for today, and then I think that like that's a whole next section that we're going into the next part, which we can go into the next stream. But I think we've made pretty good progress. Yeah, I'm liking it. What I'll do is I'll play blast it and then we'll see what it looks like. Then turn that off. Save that. Let's push it back a bit. Yeah, so it's around here. We're getting there. You can see in the timeline what progress we've made, where we're getting up to. So in terms of blocking, after this we have like another 250 frames, and then blocking first pass is practically done. So we're getting there. A lot of this section was quite dense, like we've done a few streams on this section. That's because there's so many mini inner workings all going on at once. But the next sections are pretty much just her moving through space in different traversal ways. So it should be a little bit faster, I reckon. Like there's not as many interactions, but this was definitely one of the more techie parts to figure out. Yeah, Adam's got some great work. I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into this shot when we get more heavy into in-betweens and start doing more like spacing and pushing our timing and our spacing and that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be really fun. And then, you know, we can go into territory of exaggeration and yeah, I think we'll also, what I want to do is maybe do a mini screening of different scenes from the things I'm referencing, like Akira and Ghost in the Shell, and actually understand how they're approaching the body mechanics, because I don't want it to deviate too far away. Ah. I lied. We don't have 250 frames left because actually my timeline was wrong. So we got to here. Oh, there's more. Right, let's replay blast. So we've actually got 400 frames left. Oops. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll pause the music. We'll play it a couple of times. And then I'll quickly answer the chat before we play. Cool. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll play it now. We'll see what progress we've made today. And then we'll probably call it there. The hold of her and then him going, it's a whip, kind of like feeling to it. I'm probably making that, like, that may make no sense to you, me saying that with sound. But the idea being that, do you hear that there's like a rhythm? So she goes, but he goes, so there's like an extra beat that he does because he's spinning. So she goes, if you watch it from the perspective of her first, so it's right? But from him, if you look at the robot, it's like that. There's like another beat in there, that boom, boom kind of thing. So yeah, that's working pretty well. Yeah, the role rework looks good. The whole sequence is coming together quite nicely. Yeah, it's getting there. I'm still, once I get into like blocking plus and I really tie that down, I have a feeling that still might change that role because it's still a little slow. I think there needs to be another texture in there of some kind, because I'm hearing that similar thing of that doo in the rhythm. and it feels like it's a bit stagnated, that section. It's a little slow. It's like everything kind of holds for a second and then continues. So I think I may rework the mechanic of her landing in there somehow, that we still kind of instigate with this pose, go into this pose, but somehow in between here we have some kind of like a 1, 2, and then continue, rather than a 1 and then up kind of thing. It just feels a bit slow in there. And this also needs to be faster. I want to feel that nice and tight as we drag through, and it just goes, and you feel like all of the sparks like go really quickly outwards. I think that would be really cool. So it's like she kind of holds in the pose. It's like it's kind of a badass moment. She grinds down, she goes and like holds in the pose, goes, and all the thing just spits out behind her. Well, yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. And yeah, it's really cool chatting with you guys, giving your suggestions as we're going through as well. Definitely makes me think about, the work as I'm doing it. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. And as a reminder, any old streams will be up on YouTube. They'll be coming out progressively. So yeah, be sure to check that out. For anyone who didn't see in the chat earlier, the channel is called Animates with Aaron on YouTube. And there's a new playlist in there called CYBERPHONK, where, yeah, I'll slowly be putting up these streams. So in the meantime, I'll speak to you soon, and take care.